Ni huzuni kwa watu ya Bahati, ni huzuni kwa wachungaji, ni huzuni kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kama mchungaji anauawa, ameuawa tafuga kwa kanisa ndani, nyumba ambaye anakaa ndani ya kanisa ndani, then are we safe? We are not safe.
Too much. Kwa sababu huyo mchungaji ni baba wa watoto wengi, ni watu wengi wanamtegemea, na sasa kama tumefika kuwaua hadi wachungaji, mumekuja sana.
The injury to the disease, it is in the back of the neck, hapa kwa kichwa. Ni kama alikatwa na kitu kama shoka from the behind, and alikuwa amefungwa kwa mkono. Pia watchman alikuwa amefungwa pia.
A 45-year-old woman arrested in connection with the sudden death of veteran gynecologist Dr. Job Obwaka will remain in custody for 10 days as investigations continue. Beatrice Wangari was arraigned at the Kibera Law Courts on Monday, where the court granted detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations more time to complete their probe. She will be held at Kilimani Police Station with a case set for mention on May 14th, 2026. According to investigators, Dr. Job Obwaka, aged 83, collapsed on May 1st after visiting Wangari at a residence in Kitengela. It is reported that the two shared a meal before the doctor suddenly fell ill, becoming drowsy and experiencing breathing difficulties shortly after taking water. He was rushed to the Nairobi hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival later that evening. Wangari told investigators that she had known the deceased since 2015, describing him as a business associate. Detectives are now threatening or treating her as a person of interest with a possible poisoning angle under investigation, although the doctor is also said to have had underlying health conditions. And tension is high in Luanda village, Figa County, after two people were killed following an alleged shooting incident involving police officers. According to reports, the incident occurred after a confrontation that arose from growing complaints by border operators who accused police of harassment and arbitrary arrest in the area. The situation is said to have escalated before officers allegedly opened fire, fatally shooting two individuals. Residents have expressed anger over the incident, calling for calm even as they demand accountability and a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the deaths.
Hii tumeconfirm watu wawili ambao wamekufa na ni wahudumu wa bodaboda, na kuna wengine ambao wameumizwa katika hospitali wanaendelea kupata matibabu.
Jambo la kuzunisha tumeenda jana la kuzunisha tumeenda station sisi kama viongozi ili kujadili amani.
So kuanzia jana na leo tunafaa ile kitu imefanyika saa hii ni kujiona mbuzi na kondoo. Gani iko na uzito? So sisi ni kondoo, askari ni mbuzi. OCS asipoenda transfer, hatuna amani.
Now, President William Ruto has today presided, as yesterday, over the swearing-in of 37 new judges to the High Court and the Environment and Land Court, marking the largest single intake of judges in Kenya's history. The milestone brings the total number of judges appointed under the Kenya Kwanza administration to 98 over the past 3 years in what the government describes as a deliberate effort to strengthen the capacity and efficiency of the judiciary. The move is aimed at enhancing access to justice, reducing case backlogs, and reinforcing the judiciary's role as a key pillar in promoting inclusive development and public confidence in the country's democratic institutions. In his capacity as the chairperson of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, this is COMESA, President Ruto also presided over the swearing-in of 12 judges to the COMESA Court of Justice, tasked with interpreting and upholding the regional treaty.
It is both an honor and privilege to preside over this solemn and significant occasion, marking the swearing-in of judges of the High Court, the Environment and Land Court, and the Comesa Court of Justice. This ceremony reaffirms our national commitment to the rule of law and fair administration of justice, and the enduring promise of our Constitution to every citizen of the Republic of Kenya. In recent years, we have made deliberate progress in strengthening the judiciary. I have it on the authority of the Judicial Service Commission that each and every one of you applied for the job and came for interview and passed the interview. I hope that is correct. Because I come across many leaders in my life as a leader in this nation who step forward, are either appointed or elected or nominated, but then become very reluctant to do that which they applied for or were elected to do. I come across many leaders who, having gotten into office, they escape the duty of that office. They procrastinate, they delay, they absent themselves, and sometimes outrightly run away from station. I want to plead with you that the job you applied for goes beyond an appointment letter. You have been sworn in to a mandate, and therefore, please take this appointment and this swearing in very seriously. Justice should be timely, efficient, and meaningful in the lives of people. The true measure of our justice system is whether the ordinary citizen experiences fairness, timeliness, and dignity.
And in politics of defense, the Jubilee Party has come out strongly in defense of its party leader, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, urging Kenya Kwanza leaders to respect his right to speak on national matters. Speaking at the party headquarters in Nairobi, Jubilee Deputy Party Leader Fred Matiang'i and Secretary General Moitalel Ole Kenda accused the government of attempting to shrink the democratic space by targeting former leaders. The leaders maintained that retired presidents have a constitutional right to express their views freely, warning that efforts to silence them undermine democratic principles and national discourse.
Retirement benefits for former presidents are not political favors to be granted or withdrawn at will. They are legal entitlements grounded in law, designed to preserve the dignity of the office and to ensure continuity and stability within our system of governance. To weaponize such provisions for political intimidation is to cross a line that no responsible leadership should ever approach. To those issuing these threats, we say this clearly and without hesitation: we dare you.
Our party leader is going nowhere, and our party leader will continue to express himself. It is his constitutional right. In fact, you can go ahead and do what you please, because the kind of behavior we have seen from elected leaders is shocking. We must uphold the decency of difference, that we can have differences, but we can be decent about it. Even the language that is being used by some of these leaders in reference to President Kenyatta is shocking.
And in politics again, the Orange Democratic Movement has unveiled its strategic plan for the 2027 general election, signaling a shift in approach as it is either forming a single-party government or joining a political coalition. After a level meeting in Mombasa County, the party announced that it will move away from street demonstrations and instead focus on driving change through institutional and internal political processes. ODM leaders said the party party will concentrate on implementing reforms from within government structures, aligning its strategy with the legacy and political directions of its former leader, the late Raila Odinga. As part of its renewed agenda, the party has prioritized youth employment, empowerment of special interest groups, and an increase in monthly stipends for the elderly to 6,000. It also pledged internal reforms aimed at strengthening grassroots structures, improving candidate nomination process, and enhancing the participation of youth and women in party leadership.
The strategic and practical plan of ODM to form the next government, either alone or as part of the coalition that forms that government in 2027. This retreat that brought together members of the parliamentary group, National Assembly and the Senate, Council of Governors, the National Executive Committee, NEC, of the party, majority and minority leaders from various county assemblies, and members of the Board of Trustees of the party, has been about the strategic and practical plan to take long-enduring supporters of our founding leader, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and ODM from the opposition and the streets to the government from 2027 and beyond. It is from the government that we will push for the realization of the dreams of our founding leader. 3, we task the National Elections Coordinating Committee, NEC, with CC, to re-examine and devise means and ways for identifying candidates for the nomination slots in Parliament and county assemblies, taking cognizance of registered concerns so far. 4, we task the party secretariat to devise ways and means to review and revamp the youth and women leagues with a view to developing generational and gender mix.
And a very interesting story. Media stakeholders have been asked to continue providing credible and reliable information as the country moves closer to the general election scheduled for next year. Speaking during the World Press Freedom Day celebrations held in Nairobi, High Court Judge Isaac Lenaola reminded journalists of their critical role in promoting national stability and strengthening democratic governance. Justice Lenaola emphasized that the media plays a key role in shaping public opinion and safeguarding peace, particularly during politically sensitive periods such as elections. He called on journalists to uphold professionalism and avoid spreading misinformation that could destabilize the country. At the same time, the National Police Service assured media practitioners of their security during the electoral period, pledging to work closely with journalists to ensure they operate in a safe environment while carrying out their duties.
Tunatarajia upate ushirikiano kutoka kwa umma, na kwa wale watu ambao labda wanalipwa pesa kujaribu kuhatarisha wanahabari, waambiwe kwamba sisi ni marafiki wa jamii na tunafanya kazi ambayo ni ya kuleta amani.
One of the mandate for the police is the preservation of peace, and today journalists have also been reminded that they have another additional role, that as they do their business of reporting news in the newsroom or doing a script somewhere, what should come in the center is about peace.
For societies, most of the victims sisi ndio tunaumia, yetu tunawafanyia kazi nzuri. Tulikuwa naomba maybe wanasiasa as we approach elections, maybe mwaka ujao, na sisi tusiwe victims sana sana of late tumekuwa target ya goons. Wanasiasa wanataka tufuate njia yao na sisi tunasimama imara.
Kuna baadhi yao ambao wameweza kutumia, wacha niwaite goons, kwa kuvamia hadi wanahabari. Ningependa sana wawe wakizingatia usalama wetu sisi kama wanahabari, hasa wasichana, ili tuweze kufanya kazi yetu kikamilifu.
Tunataka kuambia Inspector Mkuu Generali na Chachi Mkuu Bwana Madam Martha Koome hakikishe kuwa yale maovu yote wanahabari wamefanyiwa katika nchi ya Kenya yanafika mwisho.
Students at the University of Nairobi are threatened to disrupt academic activities, citing delays in the appointment of a substantive deputy vice-chancellor, a situation they say is affecting learning and institutional stability. The students argue that the prolonged absence of permanent leadership has created uncertainty in academic management, negatively impacting their studies and overall welfare within the institution. According to the student representatives, the leadership gap has also weakened student governance structures, leaving many learners concerned about the direction of their academic future.
We know that the process has been done, that is the interviews for the Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs, and Deputy Vice Chancellor Finance, Administration and Planning. The Council has done its work. We are looking at the Minister of Education, that is Yeso Gamba, to give us the direction and give us substantive leaders at the University of Nairobi to ensure that everything must be done according to the law. And that will provide the oversight needed and will ensure that everybody else in the university is in line. So we want to know who is derailing this process.
And on a sad story, a somber mood has engulfed Nami Rembe village in Kantui constituency, Bungoma County, following the tragic death of a 14-year-old grade 7 pupil after coming into contact with a live electric wire. The boy, identified as Nelson Bawasa, reportedly died on the spot after touching a power line believed to have been illegally connected from a neighboring home. According to his father, Patrick Wafula, the incident occurred when the minor unknowingly entered the exposed wire, leading to the fatal electrocution. The grieving family has now called on relevant authorities to launch investigations into the matter and take legal action against those responsible for the unsafe electricity connection.
Kwa hiyo wakati ya kwenda kutafuta maji, mtoto wangu alipatikana na maafa kutokana na stima ambayo iliunganishwa ikipelekwa kwa madanga kwa jirani. Ilitoka kwa jirani ikaingia kwa jirani. Sasa katikati, mimi ndio naishi katikati ya hiyo kwa hiyo njia ya kupeleka stima huko chini. Lakini nina uchungu sana kwa sababu mtoto wangu alikufa kifo ya ujungu na si kufurahia kama mzazi.
Jana mwendo wa saa 8 tumeshtukia sana kumpoteza kijana Nelson ambaye alipikwa na nyaya za umeme ambayo zilikuwa zimefanywa connection kusaidia majirani. Tulikuwa na matanga ingine hapa chini, na kulingana na venye tulikuwa, kuna mtu alichukua kandarasi ya kuunganisha hizo waya za stima, lakini hakuwa amehitimu. Alitumia binding wire kuunganisha hizo waya, lakini wenye walikuwa wametaka stima walimpatia pesa, walimpatia waya mzuri watumie, lakini akakuja akakata na akaeka binding. Sasa hiyo ndio ileta changamoto, tukapoteza huyu kijana. Na alipotea kwa sababu alikuwa kazi, ameenda maji ya kuoka na alikuwa barefoot.
Haki, tumeumia na tumehuzunika. Hatujui tufanye aje. Tunahitaji serikali, mkipenda mtusaidie. Hii boma tuko vile tuko hivi. Hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Baba ya mtoto anapambana ndio mtoto wake asome, ndiye akule.
The government, in partnership with the Kenya Medical Research Institute, has launched a new research initiative aimed at investigating the impact of aflatoxin exposure on children in Kilifi County. The 3-year TRACE project seeks to generate scientific evidence that will guide policy formulation and strengthen efforts to protect children from the harmful effects of aflatoxin contamination, which experts warn is being worsened by changing climate conditions. Researchers involved in the project have raised concern that efforts to reduce child mortality linked to the toxin have stagnated, calling for urgent intervention backed by data-driven solutions.
Governments have invested heavily in interventions that have really driven down child deaths in Kenya and more importantly within the region and globally. But where we are now, it seems like we have reduced the rate at which we are progressing in terms of reducing child mortality, and we need to start thinking of new tools and new evidence that can help us get past this plateau that we are currently seeing in terms of progress towards reducing child survival. In Kenya, almost every household relies on grain, particularly maize, in the form of ugali, in the form of porridge, in the form of githeri, as a staple food. And aflatoxins are one of the contaminants that affect these grains. What we are learning now from new evidence is that the effects of aflatoxin can extend to impacting the effectiveness of some of these very interventions that have been responsible for some of the progress we've seen, particularly vaccines and how children respond to vaccines that are administered through our routine Ministry of Health.
The Ministry of Education has been asked to ensure adequate availability of learning resources and teaching materials in all schools across the country to support the effective implementation of the competence-based curriculum and improve the quality of education. Speaking in Nakuru County during a computer and ICT training session for teachers, stakeholders from the Raspberry P1 Foundation and Tech Kids Africa called on the government and development partners to strengthen collaboration in providing digital infrastructure and essential technological tools. They emphasized that investment in ICT resources is critical to ensuring successful delivery of the new curriculum, noting that learners must be equipped with skills that meet international education standards.
So far, we are in about 37 counties in this country, and we have been able to train about 550,000 students. We have trained approximately slightly above 5,000 teachers. What we believe as Raspberry Pi Foundation is that no child should be left behind, and the teacher must be supported to deliver this the competence-based education.
The reason why we are also doing this is because a child in Nakuru here, a child in Kuresoi, a child in Mombasa, a child in Taita Taveta are not competing against each other anymore. They are competing against global opportunities that are there, and we are just preparing them for the global opportunities.
What we have learned for the last 2 days that we have been here is how to integrate ICT into the new curriculum, which is the CBC.
I think I have improved my confidence on how to teach, because I have realized that you don't need to be a computer wizard to teach the computing.
And in some good news, a family of 8 from Bilondo village in Kantui constituency is celebrating a major relief after a good Samaritan stepped in to construct them a new house, ending years of hardships in poor living conditions. The family had been living in a dilapidated single room where they say they had endured difficult circumstances and struggled to meet basic needs. They described their situation as dire, noting that life had become increasingly challenging, especially for the children. The breakthrough came after Zesius Mwasame, a local philanthropist, intervened as part of his initiative to support vulnerable members of the community. He said the project aimed to uplift families living in unsafe and undignified conditions, noting that many people still require urgent assistance.
Shukurani Mheshimiwa Wambura
pamoja na mheshimiwa mtarajiwa Mheshimiwa Satius Mwasame. Na wakati tulikuwa hapa na matanga kwa jirani yangu, tukakutana na yeye. Chenye alifanya hapo ni maajabu sana, kwa sababu tangu Mungu aumbe hii dunia yetu hatujawahi onako mpunge ambaye amewahi kukanyaka kwa hii matope. Tisha shukurani ili ajengee mtu mwingine na maisha yetu ipate kuendelea yenye afya na mubariki.
Atanisaidia kwa hata tune na huyo mtoto, mimi nitaenda mbele kuliko mtoto msichana kama asomi anasema ati hata wacha mimi nioleke kwa ajili wataki kunilipia. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Sasa mimi nakushukuru tu. Mungu tena akubariki. Tena uendelee hivyo, tena ufanyeko mtu mwingine.
Hii kijiji yetu iko na matatizo mingi. Matatizo la kwanza tu kwa hii kijiji yetu ni mambo ya barabara. Ukiona mambo ya barabara, hata hii nyumba ya ndugu yangu kufika hivi ni shida tu ya barabara. Hakuna hata MCA, hakuna mpunge mwenye anaweza access afike hapa.
This is Morning Live, and thank you for watching the first segment of the news updates. We're coming back in a short while with the newspaper review. Stick around. Very interestingly, if you're just joining us now, remember this is Morning Live on EBN TV. My name is Jeffrey Kimayo-Somba from the first segment to the second segment, which is newspaper review. With us, we've got the Kenya's Board newspaper, this is Standard, and the Daily Nation. The top stories actually marry one another, but we're starting off with the Standard newspaper. Now, there's a story of Uhuru and Kenyatta, and we're looking at the rift between them, and they've been friends, they've been political friends and allies from a very long time. They've been in one regime for 10 years, and now we are looking maybe at a breakup of a relationship that has been for a very long time. This is when the former president has come into the limelight, in that is too much into active politics even after he has retired, and he said that angatuki kwa siasa ngo. Now, going after Uhuru, it's all about political intimidation, where never before in the history of the country has a former president faced intimidation and harassment by the regime in power. Under President William Ruto's administration, retired President Kenyatta has never had peace since he handed over power. Ruto's government continues to vilify and disrespect him, with the latest incident being a move to strip Uhuru of his constitutional parks through a bill sponsored by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, now another of Ruto's sycophants. And this mistreatment of the only surviving former head of state set a bad precedent. And this is from page 8 and page 9 of the Standard newspaper, where we first rushing to here and see what is on the same pages now. Ruto allies start a process to halt Uhuru's pension and other perks, and these are the benefits that are entitled to a former president. And after Uhuru said that he'll be active in politics, and that's why he has funded, or even he has given Dr. Matiang'i as the presidential candidate come 2027 under the Jubilee umbrella. Now that, and maybe President William Ruto is looking at the effect of former President Uhuru Kenyatta being into active politics. And remember, there was so a drift and a kind of a break or a valley between the former deputy president, that is Rigathi Gachagua, and former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, during the inauguration ceremony, remember the statements that were held to President former President Uhuru Kenyatta by Gachagua. Now, when you look at that condition or situation at that time, you look at it very well and you notice that the friendship was not there, and this was kind of politics. Now, when you look at the developments that we're seeing recently, is that Gachagua is impeached. He's a former deputy president of this country. He is in support of the former president, who is Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, these people are backing up or are too strong and very strong indeed when it comes to the voter-rich region, and this is Mount Kenya. So there are some maybe goosebumps when the president is looking at these two people coming together. Remember, there was a drift, but now they are together, and that's why you see former President Uhuru Kenyatta has been mistreated, has been mishandled by the regime that is in power because of his stand into active politics even after he has retired. Now, we're looking at Ruto allies start a process to out Uhuru's pension and other perks. Now, Nanti Senator Samson Cherargei filed a motion seeking to terminate retirement benefits around Cheruiyot. Another Ruto ally lashed out at Uhuru for his involvement in politics. Now, Samson Kiprotich Cherargei, the loud, unapologetic Ruto loyalist, and maybe let me read something, but you can see above pictured is President William Ruto and former President Uhuru Kenyatta during Ruto's swearing-in ceremony at Kasarani Stadium on September 13th, 2022. You can see smiles on their faces, but maybe there is a message that you cannot read from behind the smiles. Now, Kiprotich Cherargei is a Ruto loyalist, and maybe there is something we need to read here where Samson Kiprotich Cherargei has never hidden his love for confronting those opposed to President William Ruto's administration. To his supporters, the Nanti senator exemplifies courage and conviction. To his critics, he is nothing more than a political rabble-rouser. In the Senate, Cherargei has turned the chamber into his personal stage, often dominating major debates with a style that is rarely short of drama. The alumnus of Kapsabet Boys High School and Moi University first burst onto the national scene in 2017 as one of the youngest senators ever elected in Kenya, from sponsoring controversial legislation seeking to extend the president's term limit to his public spots with cabinet secretaries such as Kipchumba Murkomen and his inflammatory Finya Ao Bila Uruma remarks on the Kenya activism. In East Africa, the tired Ruto loyalists had delivered a whirlwind tenure both on the Senate floor as a public figure. Now, on the proposal to extend presidential terms, Cherargei argued that holding elections every 5 years does not give elected leaders enough time to serve, as the final 2 years are usually consumed by campaigns. Now, the bill was, however, defeated resoundingly. 99.99% of the submissions received expressed strong opposition to the bill, either in its entirety or specifically the clauses relating to the extension of terms of the president, members of parliament, governors, and members of the county assembly, says Justice or Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee Chairman Hilary Sige. Now, Cherargei was once a constant critic of Murkomen, first and Transport Cabinet Secretary over the poor state of roads, and later as Interior CS over insecurity. He repeatedly accused Murkomen of incompetence and corruption, particularly regarding banditry in the North Rift. During one heated Senate sessions, a visibly furious Murkomen hit back, questioning Cherargei's education and lamenting that the senator follows me from ministry to ministry like a personal tormentor. The library later spilled over onto social media. In November 2025, Cherargei again ignited one of the most explosive controversies of his career. While speaking in Kapsabet, he urged Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan and Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to Finya Ao Bila Uruma, crush them mercilessly, referring to Kenya activists accused of meddling in internal affairs of the neighboring countries. Many interpreted the remarks as a failed endorsement of the wave of abductions and crackdowns sweeping across East Africa. Now, we're talking of Samson Kiprotich Cherargei. He is a Ruto loyalist for a very long time, and we're looking at the kind of politics that we have in this country, and I've just given an explanation of the relationship that we've had between Uhuru and Ruto, the relations that we've had between Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta. And now that relationship is now becoming a different one. Now, this Cherargei has been against Murkomen for some good time. But when you look at what is happening right now, they are together actually in the same basket. They are trying to support President William Ruto, which we say it's all right, okay, because these are politics, and we just agree with your political affiliation. It's all you will, it's all your need and your interest to be in any political side of your own interest and wish. But we're looking at why should you support something that is not good, and when maybe you support it because it is benefiting you in one way or the other. We call them politics, but it's always good to be keen in what you're doing, because at the end of the day, this is life, and life ends at one stop or at one step in this move of life. Now we're looking at the departed gynecologist, and it's all about with what is written. It's a love affair, last meal, a police probe poisoning a Dr. Obwaka death. And if you remember very well, you remember the story of this gynecologist, Dr. Obwaka, for maybe some months ago. You know the story that came in as far as Nairobi Hospital is concerned. Now, investigators are probing a possible poisoning case after the senior physician died suddenly at Kitengela home. Suspicion arose after his abrupt collapse following a meal with recovered items, now undergoing toxicology tests. Now, we just need to look at some few truths about the same, or some details that are very key as far as this is concerned. And before we get to them, fresh details have emerged that the woman linked to the mysterious death of prominent physician Dr. Job Obwaka was his secret long-term lover, and that they shared a meal and became intimate hours before he died on Friday. The revelations were made at Kibera High Court, where the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, filed an urgent application seeking to detain Beatrice Wangari for 14 days as investigators pursue what they now believe could be a poisonous case. Now, in a dramatic twist, Wangari's lawyer Levi Munyeri confirmed the romantic relationship, noting that the affair was known even to Dr. Obwaka's family. And according to an affidavit filed by Sergeant Rhoda Zioka of the Homicide Investigations Department, the late Nairobi Hospital Board chair drove himself from Nairobi to Kitengela on Friday afternoon to visit Wangari at a Milimani residence. Now, at about 1:05 p.m., court papers state that the deceased parked his black Mercedes-Benz registration number, maybe let me not read it, at the basement of OBC Mall in Kitengela. Wangari then arrived driving a Volkswagen Tiguan registration number. Is written there. If you need to read it, please grab a copy of the Standard. Collected the 79-year-old doctor from the mall and proceeded to our home at Olive Court in Milimani. What happened inside the house over the next few hours is now central to investigation, and I think I also need to read more of what's happening as far as the expose on this is concerned. Now, the DCI affidavit gives a detailed account of events leading to the doctor's death. It is stated that one inside the house, Wangari prepared a meal which the deceased ate. He then requested to rest in the master bedroom, after which she joined him and they, okay. Shortly afterwards, Dr. Obwaka's condition reportedly deteriorated suddenly. The deceased developed complications. Wangari sought help from a neighbor, Mr. Shedrack Karir, who accompanied her to the house and found the deceased lying supping on the bed, unresponsive. Now dressed in a white vest and black trousers with his eyes closed, and this is from, this is what Sergeant Nzioka stated. Now, Korir immediately called Web's Emergency Care Ambulance Services, paramedic Toila Chepkeri Maritime and driver Stanley Derito Mwangi responded, and according to court documents, right, there is something that is not adding up in the story I'm just reading to you. So if you're just following it very keenly, you notice there are some gaps within. And according to court documents found, the doctor with a weak pulse and low oxygen levels. The paramedics performed the CPR, administered oxygen and rushed him to Nairobi Hospital, but he was pronounced dead immediately. Now, the incident was reported at Kilimani Police Station at 10 p.m. and Wangari was arrested the same evening at the hospital where she had followed a person. Now, DCI also told the court that investigators are pursuing possible poisoning theory after a search of Wangari's home yielded several items including plates, a spoon, a glass, a solid medication, a blanket, a bed cover, a wet shawl, and partially consumed alcohol bottles. Please read more of that story on page 2 of the Standard newspaper. But before we go to another page, we're looking at a probe where Dr. Obwaka's last moments, and the Nairobi Hospital Chair drives from Nairobi to Kitengela. That's on Friday afternoon. He parks his black Mercedes Benz in the basement of OBC Mall at about 1:05 p.m. His lover Beatrice Wangari picks him in Volkswagen Tiguan to a house at Olive Court, Milimani area. Now, Wangari prepares a meal and Obwaka requests to rest in the master bedroom after eating. Wangari joins him later and the two, all right, I don't read that. Now, shortly after the 79-year-old collapse, he is found by unresponsive, dressed in a white vest and black trousers. Now, the last thing you need to know, WAB's emergency team performed CPR, administer oxygen and rush him to Nairobi Hospital. This is immediately pronounced death. So please read more of that story, and if you're able to fill up the gaps, we'll be interested to know and keep our audience. The watch now, page 3, Aura as PCA preacher killed at Ace Church, and the residents are in mourning after Reverend Julius Numia was killed inside the PCA Tabuga Parish compound. The incident has sparked outrage and calls for swift investigations into what is feared to be a targeted murder, and that's a story you need to read from page 3. And family seeks justice after rape murder of 7-year-old. Then in Nairobi, this is briefly UN students decry leadership vacuum, and this is all about the leadership of Nairobi or the University of Nairobi. Then Galana Road renamed now Roji. Now read that story also. Then Nairobi guards demand PSRA be disbandment. Now read also that story from the same page. Now, banker sues loan app over harassment, conduct misuse, claims in 35,000 dispute. Now, a banker sued a mobile money lending company, Linka M-Copper Limited, over 35,000 loan, alleging harassment and unlawful access to our personal contacts. You can see how harassing it can be and how traumatic this can be. Now, the woman whose identity has been withheld in court documents told the High Court that she borrowed the money through the firm's mobile application, but later faced aggressive recovery tactics after missing the repayment deadline. She claims that after the loan fell overdue, the company's employees engaged in blackmail, persistent calls and WhatsApp messages, and allegedly accessed phone contacts without consent. According to affidavit, the lender sent messages to her employer senior management accusing her of defaulting on the loan, causing embarrassment at our workplace. She also alleges that threats were made to expose her to our professional network. All right, read that story, so interesting, on page 3 of the Standard newspaper. Now, page 4, new report shows why Pioneer CBE learners are dropping out of school, and I'll be giving you numbers as far as this is concerned, and questions about whether schools are adequately equipped to support learners. The shift to competency-based education requires new teaching approaches. Now, I'm giving you some of the numbers that the numbers that are speaking, whereby we are looking at 1,202,150 is the number of pupils who were enrolled in grade 3 in 2019, and this is 6 years ago. We're looking at 151,601 learners who have dropped out before reaching grade 10. Then we're looking at 1,253,577 learners who set Kenya Primary School Education Assessment in 2022. Then in comparison, 96.9 is a transition rate from grade 3 to grade 6. Then again, students who took the grade 9 Kenya Junior School Education Assessment, it was about 1,130,459 learners. Now it's in percentage, this is 88.17% transition rate to grade 10. Remember last year or the beginning of this year, this transition was made to be 100%, but we are now learning that it just went up to 88.17%. Now we're looking again at a percentage which is 55.7 performance index in grade 3, then 39.0 is the performance index by grade. And we're looking at an issue of the CBC implementation is yielding strong outcomes in applied learning, but requires stronger reinforcement of foundational theory and conceptual understanding. So from page 5, we skip that. Survey and where Nairobi City leads in crime cases among counties. Now, newly formed Nairobi Metropolitan Police Unit is expected to bring crime levels down. Frequent crimes include homicide, robbery, break-ins, stealing, motor vehicle theft, drugs, and traffic offenses. Now, we're looking at counties with highest crime rates, and this is from as of 2025 and rank, and I think the one on top is Nairobi County with 9,000 reported incidents or cases of these crime cases. 9,958. Kiambu follows with 7,364. Meru is the third one with 5,534. Then Nakuru becomes the fourth with 4,719. Then Machakos, this is Makueni, this is Makueni County, yes, 4,200 cases. Now, counties with lowest crime rates, we're starting with Tana River with 359 reported incidents. We have Samburu 382, then Mandera 419, Wajir 425, then Lamu 453, and these are the counties with the lowest number of cases or crime cases reported so far. And we are looking at a briefing where in Meru, project to upgrade level 6 hospital has kicked off. Then also in Meru, dormitory at St. Mary's Boys Band. And yes, that's those are stories from page 5. Then below that page is business item. You need to read it if you're interested. Then Ruto's Mount Kenya EDIC lies the factor as one-term chorus dual or swells, right? Now, President admits tough political terrain in key regions amid claims of betrayal and unfulfilled pledges. Now, from Kangata to Ngirishi and Kega, former loyalists turn against him as analysts detect growing anxiety. Then we can see President William Ruto attending a church service at AIC Githumo in Kandara, and this is Murang'a County. He's trying to call the mountain for a good time, but maybe the mountain is slipping off. Maybe it's becoming so slippery, so we're waiting and see what will come up for the UDA party. Remember, there was a pact that was to be formed, and maybe it was formed for some few days or months, but later we saw a valley in between. So we're still waiting to see what Mount Kenya gives in as far as or gives in for President William Ruto as far as 2027 is concerned. Remember yesterday on Taifa Leo, he said mlima na wachia Mungu. So this is our politics. We are waiting to see again. Now, the political landscape is highly charged with an intense focus on party realignments and the formation of new alliances ahead of the election. Those are signs of anxiety. So politics is a field where anxiety, fear, and scare is the norm, or becomes the normalcy of the day. Then page 10, Standard Group remains a trusted source of news. Maybe you can also read that, but shifting to politics, ODM sets tough demands for 2027 coalition talks with UDA. So that is what I just mentioned some few minutes ago about the pact and the merger between UDA and ODM party, and that's where they are saying, or ODM said it's very expensive, and these are statements from the interim party leader, Dr. Oburu Oginga. He said that ODM party is very, very expensive, for no one can afford it. But now we're looking at Blue Economy CS Hassan Joe, ODM Deputy Party Leader, Simba Arati in the East Mombasa, counterpart Abdul Somad Nasir at the ODM retreat in Mombasa yesterday. Remember, they are saying that ODM sets tough demands for 2027 coalition talks with UDA. Remember, Oburu had promised not to snatch the deputy president's seat from Kithure Kindiki Professor. But now he came again and said, in a twist and turns of events and statements, he said that if they are not given the seat, the deputy president seat, they'll field a candidate come 2027 from the top seat to down to the MCS. So we are looking at the coalition talks, and we still be updating you on what will come in as far as the talks between ODM and UDA party are concerned. Now, ODM leaders at Mombasa retreat are pushing for the government to release 12 billion in party funds before talks with President Ruto. They also discussed party unity, coalition demands as the party prepares for negotiations ahead of the 2027 polls. So we'll still be notifying you what will be happening, because this is an interesting moment, because we said we've only less than 13 months before we enter the general elections. But when you try to reduce some of the months that are set for campaigns, the official campaigning period, remember, this becomes a very short time. Remember, we are looking at the coalitions, we are looking at the talks, and we are looking at the directions, the political alliances being formed, and the political realignments also being formed and being realized. Remember, last week, I think 98 political parties were registered. So maybe this is a game that is changing each and every minute and each and every day. So anytime we see political changes, we just relax and say whatever we need in all this politics is just good leadership and good governance. Now, from page 11, that is business, then the opinion on page 12 of the Standard and the editorial also, political goodwill needed to eradicate illicit brews. And this is a story we saw yesterday, where we are losing 12 billion every day into illicit brews or illicit alcohol industries in this country. And that's why we're talking of political goodwill needed to eradicate illicit brew. Let's see also what will come to happen, because we're looking at also the level of lust, the level of greed, the level of corruption in this country, and the level of someone wanting to benefit and maybe becoming an opportunist or materialistic in things that belong to the citizens of this country, or in terms of the tax collection and in revenue. You find that we're losing a lot of money into the leaders that we have. So before we go to the caricature, Feroz Neuroje chose principle of convenience, defending those whose voices were being silenced and insisting that law must protect and not punish the people. So what we're looking here, we're looking at opposition. Opposition is actually laying down a lot of balls, the football, the balls that we normally play on our pitches. Actually, they are around there are more than 10 balls, and maybe they are set there for maybe for the UDA party maybe to select, and that's why you're looking at UDA party someone is, and maybe is someone who you may know, if you just read that story on the caricature, you'll understand who the person in concern or in this text is, and you'll understand why the balls are set there. And maybe this is set, maybe the opposition maybe to choose which way they would go, and they will make as far as the UDA and ODM talks are concerned come 2027. Now, up front, we're looking at Kenya-France military pact. Have we learned nothing from Batuk? And maybe this is another pact that is coming in, and this is from Kenya and France, and it's all about military pact. Remember what happened in Haiti. Remember what happened in Russia also. So let's not be trumped by what we are seeing here. So be very careful. Maybe if you faced by a lot of maybe some things that are maybe branded to be fortunes, that look like fortunes to you, maybe you need to be very careful so that you don't be trumped into a certain case like we saw in Russia and Haiti. Now page 13 is a collection of stories. You need to read that. And then page 14, Professor Munavu, scholar who never harbored academic chauvinism. Now, he showed those who met him how humility, patience, and empathy look like. He helped us to understand that you can be elaborately schooled but still take the trouble to understand and appreciate indigenous education. And this is from Professor Munavu. Read a story from page 14, and also a collection of stories from, and this is all about Reader's Corner from the Standard newspaper, and this is from page 15, from the web, from tourism, from politics, from democracy, from workers, from auto and X, and this is Twitter, then also on fraud. There is a collection of stories, so read that for yourself. Now, I think we ending there, but before I end, Ukwala families battle sickle cell stigma despite improved care. Now, Matibabu Foundation has rolled out the Red Thread initiative to boost community awareness and reduce stigma, especially in schools. The hospital is also advocating for better diagnostic capacity, including local access to electrophoresis machines. So, we ending there from the Standard newspaper, then quickly rushing to the Daily Nation, and I said the stories on top pages of the Daily Nation, the newspaper, are almost the same. But before we get to the top story on the Daily Nation, we're looking at a debt crisis as 1.3 trillion to pay interest on loans. 1.3 trillion. I need someone to pick a calculator and do this math for us and maybe see. This is a debt, and this is a debt crisis, and this is just made to pay interest, not to pay the principal amount. It's all set to pay the interest. It's 1.3 trillion. We are around 50 million in Kenya. So just try to divide all this to see what you'll be paying if you have to offset this debt crisis in interest on loans. So chukua calculator, see what you have to pay and prepare early in good time. Now, the government plans to spend 1.4 trillion of the 4.8 trillion budget for the 2026-2027 financial year on interest payment for maturing loans. According to estimates presented to Parliament on April 30th, the state will borrow more to cover the 1.1 trillion deficit. All right, so you also you need to add something on what you feel that you need to be paying. Then we're looking at 3.6 trillion is projected ordinary revenue for the next financial year, according to Treasury documents. Then Oboris ODM faction seeks to heal the rift in new power plan. This is from page 6. Then the top story on this, it's all about pushback where Jubilee Defense Party leader claims state is denying him some retirement benefits. Then we are looking at going after who's FT pranks, and I think this is constitutional, and these are constitutional entitlement. And at the Daily Nation, maybe from someone is trying to brand these FT packs, and I think if any president retires, will be benefiting or will be entitled the same benefits or the same FD pack. So I don't know whether it's politics, or I don't know whether it is political hatred that we're seeing between maybe the incumbent and the former president. So anchored by former President Uhuru Kenyatta's dabbling in politics, including criticism of President Ruto, the ruling coalition's leaders have received the campaign to block his state-funded benefits, reigniting a feud between rival political camps. And this is a story from page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. But now, I just need to unpack a package for you here as far as this is concerned. And it's from Nanti Senator Samson Cherargei has filed a motion and the Senate seeking a review of Uhuru's benefits. Yes, why Uhuru? No, we're not standing in any position maybe to defend or even to protect the former president, but I'm saying if another president retires, these are the same benefits that will be accorded to them. So why has it become so controversial? Why has it become a ground of feud for this? Now, we're looking at 34.7 billion is a lump sum pension for the 2 terms that he served in office. And remember, this is a one-time package, which is 34.7 million. Then we have a monthly pension of about 1.1 million, 80% of the monthly salary of a president. And maybe before I go further as far as the details are concerned, if maybe this is an issue of concern, why can't you get back to the constitution? Why can't you amend some of these clauses to make sure that maybe if there are benefits accorded to a retired president, why if maybe, for example, the monthly pension of a president, of a retired president, is 1.1% or 1.1 million, which is equivalent to a monthly salary of a president, why can't it be lower, up to maybe 200,000 per month as far as the pension is concerned, or even become 500,000? Maybe if this payment is becoming a bit higher, so that maybe we don't get into other issues in future that we have to be maybe trying to correct some of the issues that we found. Now, an annual gratuity of 72 million. Actually, this is too high for an economy and for a third world country. But maybe because this is constitutional, it's good. Maybe we try to look back and maybe change some of the things that we feel to have maybe changed for a good time. Now, 34 staff, including 2 personal assistants, 4 secretaries, 4 messengers, 4 drivers, and 4 bodyguards. Then we also have 4 cars, 2 limousines, and 2 sports utility vehicles, which are replaced every 4 years, each in capacity of at least 3,000 cc and not exceeding 4,000 cc. Then we're looking at monthly allowances, 300,000. This is house allowance, 200,000 fuel, and 200,000 entertainment. Then full medical cover for treatment locally and abroad. Then diplomatic passports, as well as local and international travel allowance for 4 foreign trips every year. Then we have 362 million annual budget for those for the office of the 4th retired president in the financial year ending next month. 362 million. All right, then why numbers don't add up, and this is a report. And when government replaced the National Health Insurance Fund with the Social Authority in 2024, the page 2 Kenyans was that NHIF had failed and a new, better designed scheme would cover more people and offer broader benefits. But 2 years later, SHA is spending far more than it is collecting, and hospitals and patients are complaining. Then if you need to read more on health, you just rush to page or to this is DN2, your Health Nation, and this is inside the digital theater. So page 2, and very quickly of the Daily Nation, petitioners say use of cash from the Railway Development Levy in fund to finance Gong rerouter. A commuter line goes is illegal. Then we're looking at state petitioners clashing over Gong rerouter railway funds. And Busia Senator Andrew Okoti Omtata during a press conference in Nairobi on Feb 5th, and please read that story among the same. And but before we go, there is a number that I also have to give you, and we're looking at the cost of commuter railway project, which is 12 billion. The cost of construction of the Ngong Rerouter commuter meter gauge railway. The project is being financed through the Railway Development Levy Fund. Okay, then page 3, it's all about cost cutting. Some families opt for rejects or using one food to prepare lunch and supper food for the rich. Rising prices keep tomatoes out of most Kenyans rich, and we can look at the rise of tomatoes maybe from March. We're looking at from 63.0 to 65.90. Then this is September, 60.70 to 67.20, then to 74.10. Then in between March, September again, there we can see the margin from 66.20 to 70.4. Then again, we're looking at it from 59.50 to 63.50, then to 64.10 or 10. Now, when there is a very interesting story that you need to read according to 2026 economic survey, the average retail price has remained relatively high from last year. Then we're looking at increase and the difference in tomato prices, and 6,000 is the price of a crate of tomatoes in shillings in Nairobi just months ago, according to traders and to Wakulima, Githurai, Kawangware, and other markets. Now 18,000, the amount in shillings a green grocer now needs for a crate of tomatoes. It means one fruit can go for as much as 25, way from 6,000 to 18,000. It's quite very high. Then we're looking at law and order. LOB challenges directive on firearms, and read the story on firearms on page 3. Then page 4, quickly going after Uhuru Sparks over 2027 elections, and there's some details that given at you, and it's all about a stand of where Ruto's administration without some of his predecessors' entitlements for 2 years after disagreement and political disagreement. So read that story more, then we'll see what will happen for the former president. Now, survey where 79% of Kenyans trust the media, so maybe we need to increase it up to maybe 100%, so that maybe what we do can be trusted by each and every other person who is watching, who is viewing, and who is listening. Now, in national news and in politics, then this from page 6. Politics are about Linda Ground function ready to work with everyone, including the Linda Mwananchi Brigade, Oboro says, and maybe this is step geared towards maybe bringing Sifuna back into the ODM party. Then Orange Democratic Movement delegates follow proceedings during the retreat in Mombasa yesterday. I need to see page 7 is all about business. Then page 8, UDA DCP of full start nomination campaigns for All Kalau by-election. Then we're looking at some of the theatrics where Murang'a Governor Irungu Kang'ata has asked National Assembly Leader of Majority Kimani Ichung'wah above to stop threats and seek him out for a conversation. Mr. Ichung'wah says he has damaging information on Dr. Kang'ata. Then 4,303 is the fourth Mr. Muraya Gidanga got during the Ruri ward by-election in 2021. The mini poll was occasioned by the death of Buru Yedenji. Now it's all about debt crisis again. I think something that I has also given details on them. Then debt crisis where state allocates huge share to debt servicing as budget deficit and borrowing pressures continue to rise. Look at the numbers. We're looking at 1.3 trillion. Then we are looking at 1.1 trillion, which is projected fiscal deficit to be financed through a mix of domestic and external borrowing in 2026-2027 financial year. Then page 10, we're looking at about health, where government boasts of a boast of 29 million registered members but remains silent on 24 million not paying premiums. So who is telling the truth? The SHA numbers that refuse to add up. Then 24, the number of Kenyans in millions who are registered with SHA but are not paying premiums. So maybe it's a very, very sad state for the migration from NHIF to SHA, and what we were promised or what we thought could work as far as the migration is concerned, we see and we saw it is not working. We're looking at the complaints, we're looking at the press, we're looking at some of the conversions that we're getting from the experiences from the migration of NHIF to SHA, and we look at the numbers that are still not adding up. Business from page 11, then page 12, how access to bank records could transform tax system. That's a story all about business, and you can read it for yourself. Then we are looking at a mixture of stories here, but before, there is a grave threat to media freedom. All right, grave threat to media freedom. It's a big concern, and I think that is something we've been talking of from third, which is World Press Freedom Day, and we're still following up today to make sure that maybe because of the grave threat to media freedom, which is becoming a very, very big concern, we want to make sure that, as I said yesterday, you have to stick to your lane. If you are media personnel, if you're medical personnel, please stick to your lane, and maybe if you go beyond the extremes, you need to be called off and make sure that maybe you are corrected in the right way, not maybe attacked, not tear gas canisters maybe lobbed onto you. So we need to check this out and make sure that this does not happen again. Then we have a call to stop Eurobond breach, and read the story also. Then thoughtless words will hound Ruto. This is interesting. You can read it because we are talking of the thoughtless words that will haunt Ruto maybe later. Then we are looking at the opinion on the caricature on the Daily Nation. It's not that bad really, and maybe it's all about someone maybe holding some protective or some armory maybe to protect something, and this is all about politics and about the immigrants. So someone is saying it's not so bad. This is to mean someone is benefiting from something and taking advantage of the vulnerable. So that's from page 13 on the opinion. Then a mix of stories from page 14, I think that is where I'm ending. Then even before I go, we're also looking at some also caricature speaking much, and reading before bed helps you sleep better. Then okay, I'll try that. Then I guess Beetle doesn't need any help, right? Okay, so you are told, or you just told, if you read before you sleep, it's very, very good for your health. And this is from page 14 of the Daily Nation. Then your health begins from page the DN2, and also, no, this is about powering SMEs. Page your health comes from page 22 of the Daily Nation. We're ending there. This is Morning Live on EBN TV. My name is Jeffrey Kimayo-Somba. Thank you for watching the two segments. Please don't go too far, because what's coming up is Your Faith Today with Reverend Felix Gavoy. Stick around. Thank you for watching. May God bless you.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
EBN TV cares about the growth of your business. To advertise with us, call 0725 386 501 or 0740 653 453. EBN TV, transforming your world.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Fitness, fabulous fitness. You need it, we got it. The best home workouts just for you. We keep it fun and sweaty. Join us at EBN TV and get that blood pumping. A fabulous workout for your fabulous body. Keep it fit and fab.
EBN TV is opening its doors to the world through EBN Gospel Storm, a powerful opportunity designed to take your message beyond borders. For an annual subscription of only 5,000 shillings, you gain access to a global gospel platform, and once subscribed, you can hear a 30-minute sermon for just 1,000 shillings. At EBN TV, we are raising 13 gospel voices every day, one preacher every hour. This is your platform to reach a wider audience, to amplify your calling, and to spread the gospel to the nations.
How do we position ourselves? Is it physical or is it spiritual? This book that we preach to position you. Salvation is actually a positioning, and the preachers preach endlessly in every place to position men that they can see God.
Start with EBN. Join the gospel storm. Minister to the world.
EBN TV, preaching Christ, touching lives, and changing nations.
Are you ready for an uplifting experience? On Your Faith Today, dive deep into the life-changing message from the Word of God. Join Reverend Felix Kavoy as he shares powerful insights that will inspire, encourage, and strengthen your faith.
It is one thing to receive a prophetic word. It is another thing altogether to see that prophetic word come to pass in your life.
But that's not all. Experience special sessions of worship that will stir your soul and draw you closer to God. Prepare to be moved, uplifted, and connected with His Word as we come together in faith. Catch Your Faith Today every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Tune in and let your spirit be renewed.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
From the book of Acts chapter 3, verse 19. Repent therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, so that times of refreshing may come from the presence of the Lord. This is Reverend Nathan Chue Muko of Redeemed Gospel Church, Mlolongo, Sufficient Grace Center. Join me in EBN TV every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. for a time of refreshment as we share the word of God together.
Sports isn't just a game. It's passion,
He's done it. Jakub Mensik is the champion in Miami.
Drums. Man, oh, come on now. In the thrill of the unexpected. From the stadiums to the streets, we bring the game to you.
We bring you exclusive insights from the pros, bold predictions, and in-depth analysis like